My dad had passed away in 1976. And so it was really basically my mom and myself living at home. My two oldest brothers were already married, and holidays were split between their in-laws and us. And then my third oldest brother, I believe at the time, lived in Wisconsin, and my sister she moved out. Anyway, that's another whole story. So it was just Mom and I. And on Thanksgiving, Mom just wasn't into wanting to make a big full turkey dinner like we normally have turkey and dressing and the vegetables and cranberry sauce and pies and all that kind of traditional Thanksgiving stuff. And so on a whim, I guess, Mom said, let's just go out to eat. Let's find a restaurant to go on Thanksgiving Day itself. Which back then we couldn't find any like kind of places we might have thought about to be open. Mm-hmm. So we found this little hole in the wall restaurant. I don't say that in a bad way. It was actually a very tiny restaurant in this town called Baden, which was just outside St. Louis. And it was a Chinese restaurant. And understanding that mine is a Midwestern family, a meat and potato family, and I don't believe we ever really had any kind of Chinese food or, I might say foreign food. So coming to a Chinese restaurant was very unique and different for us. And Mom and I got kind of a bit of a laugh, and it was just such a neat memory for me because it was just her and I connecting and laughing about this fact that we hadn't, the food we were seeing in front of us was different and strange. It was good food, and the people there were wonderful people.
And your mom didn't have to stand and cook the whole day, so she got to just enjoy her time with you.
Yeah, we got actual time to connect and talk. Mm-hmm. It was, and it was one of those Thanksgivings that I will remember for the rest of my life because it stood out. Very different and very neat and very unique. And it was a time, my mom's gone now, so I don't have that time with her. So I was appreciative of that time.
This is Gina
and Don
with Focused Healthy Family.
This is podcast number 29.
And today is Thanksgiving. And so we are talking about thankfulness. Before we get into it, let's hear a word from our sponsor. Today's podcast is sponsored by Q Sciences. Don and I discovered that the supplements we were taking and giving to our children were not being absorbed properly. I was very excited when I found Q Sciences. I was impressed with the quality of the products and that they provide maximum absorption. They have a variety of products, including a Q Max product, which is a combination of 3 products, including vitamins, minerals, and a probiotic. They also have hemp oil, a vitamin B12 spray, a sleep spray, and kids products. I've really seen a difference in how these products are improving how I feel, improving my mental health, and I'm happy with the quality of these products and how they're helping our whole family. If you'd like to learn more,
simply go to qsciences.focusedhealthyfamily.com. That's the letter Q, sciences.focusedhealthyfamily.com. Or you can find a link on the front page of the focusedhealthyfamily.com website.
And stop throwing your money away on supplements that don't work and use a quality product like Q Sciences.
And we're back. So my story, as I talked about, we're talking about giving thanks and being thankful and grateful for things. And that story just kind of makes me grateful for the time I had with my mom. She and I didn't always get along on the best levels, but that one day especially, we were just very connected and had a very enjoyable evening.
And it's funny because you're telling me this story and we were looking up
the movie A Christmas Story. If you're not familiar with it,
Rah, rah, rah.
the dog steals the neighbor's dog steals the turkey, and they wind up going out, and that was Christmas to a Chinese dinner, a Chinese restaurant for dinner, and it's Christmas, so it wasn't Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And then the staff sings a
Rah,
Christmas
rah, rah, rah.
carol to them with their Chinese accent. No offense to anybody. It was 1983. But so we figured out that movie probably had not come out yet.
Yeah.
And you had this experience with your mom. So in retrospect, it just...
And they didn't sing to us. It was Thanksgiving,
sing a Thanksgiving song. So I just like to bring up, I have politically correct children, and no matter what your belief is of the origin of the United States Thanksgiving, it can still be a time of gratitude and thanks. I love this time of year on Facebook. People start doing a 30-day challenge of gratitude, and for every day in November, they post something they're grateful for. And I think it's something that's wonderful to do all year long, and yet it's a great reminder.
Yeah.
Let's stop and let's be thankful for things. I have a gratitude journal that I usually typically write in the morning, but I've done it at the end of the day. And I know that my life has better focus and direction when I take just the 5 minutes or less to write some things I'm grateful for. It's very powerful to stop and think about what we're grateful for. We spend a lot of time thinking about what went wrong, what we didn't do right. That's how I got into that journal. At the end of my day, I'd be like, oh, I wish I had said this. I can't believe I said this way, and I should have done this differently. And I actually created what I called my yay journal, and I celebrated what I did right. And from there, I took the journal and would start my day. I would be worried about going into work, and I'd affirm how I wanted my day to go. I would write things like, I am feeling calm, confident, connected. I am working efficiently and completing my workday. And I've found that those things really started happening. So journals can be very powerful, and it's a great tool, just being grateful. And even if you're having like a really crappy day and you're just angry at the world, you can be like, I'm grateful I'm alive. I'm grateful for this glass of chocolate milk. I'm grateful for...
That was water.
You think it's water, but in my mind, it's
the
chocolate
new clear
milk.
chocolate.
No, I'm so grateful for it that I'm experiencing it as chocolate milk.
Changing water into chocolate.
No.
Like a latest.
I'm not changing it. I'm experiencing
It's like
it.
Anyway.
As chocolate. But you can stop and just look at anything, right? Right.
Yes.
So if you're having a lousy day, have you ever done that, Don? And you just
No,
start...
I don't have lousy days. I've always had perfectly wonderful days.
Oh, that's good.
I'm grateful for that.
I'd love to meet your family. Have you ever taken the time to think about what you're grateful for in a difficult time when things are stressful? And what would that look like?
Well, I'm actually, working on that right now. I've been working on that for a couple of weeks now.
Share with us what you're grateful for. That's what this podcast is about.
One is the idea of success. I've realized that I've wrapped the idea of success with monetary, and I'm realizing how grateful we've talked about our kids, and just how much we've been connecting with them, and you're making great connections with Abby, and talking with her, and she's really maturing. And I'm grateful for that, for having these wonderful kids. And I realized that that's part of my success. That my success isn't just about monetariness, and that's why that's why I've always kind of beaten myself up.
That you called yourself not successful because you feel
I
like
wasn't
you're not
making the money
money.
that I'm probably comparing to other people and stuff like that. And then I realized that I really have to rethink my success factor, because one of the goals that I think I made that way back when I first went into my own business was I wanted to be here because I was traveling a pretty good bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be here so that I got to know my kids, they knew me, and I got to be around them.
So we made that decision together.
Yeah.
For you to leave
My corporate kind
your
of
corporate
job.
job and went into business for yourself so that you could work from home.
And the business has gone up and down and around.
Well, it's changed and evolved.
Yeah.
It went from a phone
yeah.
login to a website, but yet you've evolved and changed and have been here and have been a part of your children's lives.
Yeah, and been here through some pretty massive things, pretty major things, and I'm grateful that I am still here. So I've really worked on the fact of remembering what true success is. That not that I don't and I think by doing that I actually am opening my mind up to receive the other success that I want, and that's the monetary side of it.
Because if you're focused on what you don't have,
yeah.
If you're saying, "Oh, I'm not successful," you're putting out to the universe, "I don't have money. I'm not bringing in the money I need." And if you're focusing your energy on that, what does the law of attraction say? That's what you're going to get more of. Neil Donald Walsh talks about if you put the energy of wanting out there, I want to bring in more money, I want to provide for my family, you're creating the energy of wanting instead of the energy of having and experiencing.
Yep.
So today's a wonderful day to think about things we're grateful for. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to invite you, Don, to go back and forth with just some things that we are grateful for. I am grateful for our amazing dog, Olive. She is 15 and a half, and because of an injury, she has come home with us. So our 20-year-old daughter moved out on her own with a friend at early summer, end of spring, and is very attached to our dogs, even though they've been family dogs, and she took both dogs with her, and it's comforting to know she has the dogs with her, living with a roommate as a young single woman. And I'm also grateful for the time of Olive being here with us. She's 15 and a half. We don't know how much longer she has on this earth. And it's nice having her around and hanging out with her after not having a dog in the house for several months now, except for the couple times when Abby has come home.
So I'm grateful for our kids and seeing their path that they're going down. Our oldest, Harrison, I'm grateful that he's doing the thing that he enjoys. He seems to really relish in the retail world, Best Buy,
in the tech world,
in the tech kind of part of that. I'm grateful that Abby is going down the dog path that she enjoys so much, and seeing her handle all the challenges that are around that and living on her own. And I'm grateful for our youngest, who seems to be going down a path of her own interest too, in programming and data work and all that. Don't know what career she's going to be in, but yeah, I'm sure it's nice to see them doing kind of what they enjoy as a job. I guess.
Right. Yeah, our older two are earning a living on things that sprung from their interest and things they enjoy doing. And we all don't know what we're going to be doing for a living 5 or 10, 20 years from now. Don has changed careers.
So many times.
When I met him, he was selling ice cream, and then the company got merged, and he was selling hot dogs and other things. And you left that world to build a phone line of information that morphed into a website business, and
we're now into
here we are.
Really doing family work.
And here we are. I'm grateful for this house that we live in. We bought this house almost 22 years ago. It'll be 22 years in the spring. And we did so by renting out the other house that you had bought before I met you. And so we had a very low mortgage payment on it. And we had met some people who went into the rental business and decided we could use that as a rental. The money we brought in for renting it was far more than what our mortgage payment was, and it enabled us to come here. Our hope was to, in about 5 years, turn this into a rental property. And yet things changed. 9/11 happened and we got out of the rental business because it wasn't benefiting us. It was costing us. And over the years, we've talked about how this was our 5-year house and, oh, we're still here. We're still here. Today, I'd like to stop and go, I am so grateful that we found this house. It's on a nice big half-acre land with a fenced-in yard. When we came here, we didn't have dogs. And so it's been great to be able to have a place for our dogs to run around. We're in a neighborhood, so we're not on a main road. The kids played in the backyard. We put in a swing set. We've made a lot of memories here. Mm-hmm. And because we've stayed here in a smaller home with a smaller mortgage payment, it's enabled us. It's enabled me to work part-time and you to grow your business and change your business. We didn't have the burden of a huge mortgage payment that kept us in that fast-paced world of two parents working full-time and juggling kids. It gave us some other opportunities, and it was a choice that we made. We have a lot of memories here.
Yeah. I'm grateful for our creative abilities. You know, and this is a little bit I don't know if I'd say materialistic or whatever, but you know, I think about how we have created cars in our life. Because we had the first one I remember the most was like when Mom passed away. The van we had at the time was getting up there in age and mileage and all of that, and we were able to buy it was used, but it was only a couple of years old.
2-year-old, yeah.
And it was a really nice
minivan.
And I believe, we kind of created that. We were like, what are we going to do? How are we going to get this car? And we've done that over and over. I mean, even just recently, and the unfortunate thing is our neighbor passed away, but our one car broke down, the Subaru broke down to where it couldn't be used.
And it was our daughter's car, and she was moving away and needed
one of our
different cars.
So And we questioned, we like, oh, what? How are we gonna do something different? How are we going to afford to have a car? All that kind of thing. But we put out there, we didn't moan and groan about it. We just said, let's open it up to the universe. And we end up inheriting the car from our elderly neighbor, who we did a lot of stuff for. So it's not so much about the car, but the fact that we have this ability within us to create what we want in our lives.
And when we really focus forward, it's very powerful.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for the opportunity to see that. And if it happened all the time, we wouldn't see it. And so I'm even grateful for the times The contrast. Grateful for contrast. When things are not going well, when you're growing credit card debt and you're struggling and your kid's anxiety disorder is creating family chaos, I'm grateful for that contrast because now we have one child at home. We have 2 kids who have moved out, Don. We're getting older. and we have this different dynamic here. We went on a trip. And I'm like, wow, it's 2 parents and 1 kid. I forgot what this is like. This is easier.
Yeah.
And I loved every minute of raising my children and having a family of 3 and the noise and the arguments in the back of the car. And I'm grateful for now, too, and this new point in our life. And feeling confident in our choices that we've made over the years.
Yeah.
The financial sacrifices we've made. That our kids we weren't able to buy them big, expensive, fancy things at Christmas when they'd gotten big gifts. It was usually like we reached out to family and we all chipped in together. And I'm really okay with that because I'm grateful that we've taken the time that we have to spend with each other.
Well, I'm grateful for your parents too.
Oh, yes.
They've helped us a lot. And without a lot of strings attached to it, or
Yeah.
they've been very gracious and giving and helping us
Yeah, they have.
along.
From
And
coming up here when you had your heart attack and watching the kids,
yeah,
as well as financially helping us at times, and so
well, and thinking about that, because sometimes there are times when I felt a little guilty about them giving, but something I tell the patients I work with, the clients I work with, is the idea of giving. It has to be balanced between giving and receiving. Otherwise, it's a burnout place, for one. And two, to allow other people to give to you, gives them the same warm, wonderful feeling and graciousness within themselves for having helped you. Because we know how good it feels for us to give, and we don't want to rob that from other people. If they want to give and they're willing to give, then we need to allow that.
Yeah, because otherwise we're shutting down the flow of energy.
Yeah.
Money is just energy exchange. And when people offer something to you, oh, I'm going to help you out. Oh, no, don't bother. You don't have to do that. You're cutting off that energy supply. And like you said, it's wonderful to receive gifts from people, but it's also very wonderful to give.
Yeah.
So if someone is giving you a gift and you are, shutting it down, stop and think for a minute. I mean, there might be times when you need to say this is not appropriate. But I would venture to guess many of the times it's more about our pride, our guilt, and being open and okay with people giving. I've got a story I've got to tell, or maybe I should save it for a Christmas episode.
We could do that.
Maybe I will. A little teaser there.
Write it down so you don't forget it, though.
And I'd like to invite all of you to think about thankfulness. I want to go back and forth some more, Don, with just things we're thankful for. Keep this podcast a little shorter since it's Thanksgiving Day. So let's just come up with other things. I'm thankful for all the animals that have come into our life. From Lassie and Thumper, my first cats that I took in when I was brand new, living on my own. I moved to Charlotte from Pennsylvania, didn't know anybody in Charlotte other than the people I met at my job. And having them in my life, and all the cats and dogs that have come into my life since.
Thinking about something I heard on NPR. They were doing a podcast and talking about the people that we encounter. There's a lady that was going around and stirring up conversations just with people, anybody, and she was doing it on purpose to get herself out of her introverted self or whatever.
Okay.
And I'm grateful for all the people that I've met all along the way that have influenced me in some way. That have, there have been, I'm right off the top of my head, I can't think of a particular person that was only in my life for a very short period of time, but left me with, Randolph comes to mind. Reverend Randolph with Unity.
A minister at Unity
was
of
in
Charlotte.
In the whole scheme of things, was only in our life for maybe a couple of years, really, I think, if I think about it.
Yeah.
But his influence and what he left and how that was, I think, our whole kind of spiritual change for us in a way.
Well, yeah,
we met Neil Donald Walsh there, and his way of doing things and saying things, and because I can remember that first sermon, I guess they call it, that he did, God time.
Oh, it was the meditation time, which usually somebody else did, but he happened to be doing it that time.
I was crying because it was just so powerful, so these people that come into your life, and maybe to give the idea of paying attention to somebody that comes into your life that you may take for granted, or random
interactions with strangers.
Maybe I always like to be able to say something to see if I can get somebody to smile.
I love stories where someone's paying it forward, so to speak. See if I can summarize. A friend of mine was at the grocery store, and the woman in front of her wasn't buying very much, but she could tell she was visibly stressed. And so she paid for this woman's items. And the woman turned to her and said, "I buried my son today. And you have no idea what that means to me." And they hugged and exchanged that small little moment. But wow, how powerful is that? That she just saw that this woman looked stressed. She paid for, the $5, whatever she was buying. But the impact it had, this woman will remember. She will remember that forever.
Somebody connected with her,
and
felt her passion, her grief, all of that.
Yeah, and just, you think about times when, like you said, you just walking past someone, maybe you say hello and smile. We often have no idea what impact we have on other people, and sometimes. That could be the best part of someone's day. And we really don't know. And like you said, as an occupational therapist for the past 30 years, and I did clinicals before that, all the different people that I've met, the patients that I've worked with, I'd love to, I wish I had kept count over the years. And I only worked full-time for 5 years, and yet I've met probably even more people because I haven't worked full-time, but I've been the fill-in person. So I've met all kinds of people, the number of people that I evaluate coming into whatever facility I'm working at, and just the different interactions that I've had with these people over the years. I used to say I was always a writer, and I got sidetracked by a career in occupational therapy. And yet it was has been a wonderful, beautiful sidetrack, because I have met so many people and learned so many things about myself and about others. And from that, it makes me a more powerful writer.
It makes me think about how grateful I am to some of the bosses that I've had. And I have one or two in particular. One was David Kelly. I wish I could. He was with Kelly Communications. If you're out there, David, I would love to connect with you. I can't find you. But I got fired from the food company I was working for. And I was feeling low about myself. My self-esteem was down. My confidence was down. And David took me on selling radios and cellular phones, which I
This was in 1990?
91, I think, something
91.
like that.
So you were without a job and needed income.
And he never, I wasn't that great at it. I was average, but it was on commission, so 1 month would be down, next month it was like a roller coaster. And David never downed me on the down times, or never came to me and said, "What are you doing? You got to do more." He was always so supportive, and hey, let's go grab lunch, and he'd pay for lunch, knowing that I was, because back then I would do those Wendy's dollar, I'd get a salad and a potato for $2, And that was
because you were living tight.
I was living kind of tight on some of those months, especially.
Not only did you lose your job, but you worked in sales and you had a company car.
Yeah, I lost a car.
So now you had to buy a car. You had a house. You had a mortgage you had to pay.
That's true. So
this was before we met.
He was just such a kind, gentle person. Very, like I said, very supportive, and I just always so thankful. And when I left, he wasn't angry with me, or
he understood you were between jobs and needing something as a temporary. And
I see, Daryl Parker, I should say, was another one that helped me, bought my business out when it wasn't doing the greatest, but Tom from the ice cream company. Don, it's only ice cream. Just calm down. It's okay.
I got to do another shout out to Daryl Parker, because he bought your business from you and grew it even more. And then you worked for him in the website world for a full year. and you had a salary for a full year.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful year in our life because we were not struggling financially. Because I had worked part-time with unpredictable hours and you had your own business. We didn't have a steady income. When I left full-time work, we didn't have a steady income. It was a huge leap. And so you were able to sell your business, make money from it, and then have a salaried position.
Plus, I learned Daryl he was a vibrant person who
Lots of
had
ideas.
great ideas. Management was, but still, I learned so much off of him in a lot of areas, both in the web world, but also just in life. He was just a really neat person to work with.
And I'm glad he bought your business and took you on, even if he took on, more than the business could handle. And that's why it fell apart after a year. But we had that whole year where I didn't have to go to work.
Yeah. We'll get back there.
And I'm just grateful that we had that time, that I could fully invest in the kids, because we were in the middle of our homeschooling journey. We had a 5-year-old and a 9-year-old, and we had wanted to have a third child, or at least I really did. I remember you being like, we have a son, we have a daughter, we're done. But we were waiting because it was difficult for me to go back to work and leave my children. And so that was like, okay, it's an opportunity now. And I'm glad we took it. And even though when I was 3 months pregnant, it fell apart for you being a salaried employee with him, although you still did work for him in a different capacity after that on commission and were able to evolve your business. Yet I'm glad, because we might not have taken that leap.
Yeah.
And I always felt like our family wasn't complete until our third child came along. So we have any last thoughts on just things we're grateful for right now as we record this? It is November of 2022. And I am grateful that it's not 2020, that we have a better understanding of this coronavirus. And life is in a better place than it was 2 years ago, and that we have the opportunity to travel and get together with family.
Well, I guess my thought is, we're at the beginning of the holiday season here, and to maybe get your mind off of the gifts and the turkey and all the different kind of material parts of it, or the commercial parts of it, and get back into being grateful for your family and grateful for the love
and finding a way to incorporate that in your family.
Yeah.
Whether it's at dinner and you say things you're grateful for, it could be a great tradition that you start and can do all year round. When my kids were younger, and actually, because I've always had young kids with the age span, I would make a countdown to Christmas chain where you take pieces of paper and you staple them together and make a chain, and you take one off to count down. Well, one year I got the idea, let's make a count up chain. And so I had all the members of our family, including our son's fiance, all 6 of us, write on small strips of paper something we're grateful for. And then each day from Thanksgiving through Christmas, I took those pages with what was written on the outside, stapled it, and created a chain, and eventually it was long enough to hang it up, and then just kept adding to it. And so it was a count up chain, and then we used that same chain and hung it on the tree. We might still have it. But finding ways to incorporate gratitude into your life with your kids, I think it's important to do it year round, and this is a great time of year to remember it and make it a part of things, right? Not just the shopping, not just the having to go places, having to see family, but finding a way, even if it's small, to include gratitude in your life and take time for yourself, thinking about what you're grateful for, and inviting your family to do the same.
Well, and you can tie it into your January resolutions and goals or something, so that you can make it throughout the year versus just this time of year.
Yes, there are many, many things and ideas on that topic we can discuss further.
So that's our podcast for today. We hope you have enjoyed it. We would love to hear from you. Make sure to leave us a comment. If you like what you've heard today, you can learn more about our parenting coaching program or join us for our next workshop. Simply go to www.focusedhealthyfamily.com or follow us on Facebook at Focused Healthy Family. And remember, how you speak to your children shapes their future.